Not every actor who captures the world's imagination manages to maintain their trajectory in Hollywood's fickle ecosystem. Some talents burst onto the scene with a mysterious allure that feels both timeless and entirely new, only to find their career arc bending in unexpected directions despite undeniable gifts. Today, we'd like to examine the fascinating journey of Nastassja Kinski, the German-born actress whose ethereal beauty and raw talent made her one of the most captivating screen presences of the early 1980s. Born in Berlin in 1961, Nastassja Kinski entered the world as the daughter of the notoriously volatile German actor Klaus Kinski, though their relationship would remain distant and complicated throughout her life. Her entrance into acting came almost by accident, with small roles in German productions beginning when she was just 13. The Richard Gere drama, The Techman Mystery, featured her briefly, as did the German crime drama Wrong Movement, directed by Wim Wenders, who would later become an important figure in her career. These early appearances showcased a natural screen presence, but the roles were too minor to generate substantial momentum in an industry that rarely looked beyond established stars. The turning point came unexpectedly through a controversial relationship with director Roman Polanski, who cast the then 15-year-old Kinski in the lead role of his 1979 film Tess, an adaptation of Thomas Hardy's classic novel Tess of the D'Urbervilles. The production carried a substantial budget of $12 million, unusual for a period literary adaptation at that time. Filming took place over 80 days in France, with Kinski's delicate yet determined performance capturing both vulnerability and resilience. When released, Tess grossed over $20 million worldwide, modest by blockbuster standards but impressive for an art film, and earned 6 Academy Award nominations, including 3 wins for cinematography, art direction, and costume design. Critics were mesmerized by Kinski's portrayal of the doomed country girl. Roger Ebert called her luminous, while Pauline Kael described her as possessing a magical translucence. The film transformed Kinski from an unknown European actress to an international sensation virtually overnight. At just 18 years old, she found herself on magazine covers worldwide, her distinctive features, those famous cat-like eyes, high cheekbones, and ethereal presence, becoming immediately recognizable to film lovers everywhere. Hollywood came calling immediately. Francis Ford Coppola cast her opposite his sister Talia Shire in the musical drama One from the Heart, 1982, which, despite its visual splendor and $26 million budget, became one of the director's most notable commercial failures, grossing just $636,796. Nevertheless, Kinski's otherworldly screen presence remained undimmed, and within the same year, she delivered what would become one of her most iconic roles. Paul Schrader's erotic horror remake Cat People, 1982, positioned Kinski as Irina, a woman who transforms into a deadly panther when aroused. The film's $18 million budget reflected Universal's confidence in the project, which paid off with a $21 million domestic gross. While modest by blockbuster standards, the film became a cult sensation on home video and cemented Kinski's status as an international sex symbol. Her performance balanced primal energy with profound isolation, establishing her as more than just a beautiful face. The peak of Kinski's artistic achievement came in 1984 when she reunited with Wim Wenders for Paris, Texas. The film, which won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, featured Kinski in a heartbreaking role as a woman rediscovered by her long-absent husband. Her extended monologue behind glass in a peep show booth remains one of cinema's most emotionally devastating scenes. Though the film's domestic gross of $2.2 million was modest, its critical acclaim was universal, with particular praise for Kinski's nuanced performance. So what changed for an actress with such promising early momentum? The first misstep came with the historical epic Revolution, 1985, starring Al Pacino. The troubled production carried a bloated $28 million budget but earned a disastrous $358,574 at the box office. Critics savaged the film for its incoherent storytelling and unconvincing accents. Behind the scenes, the production had been plagued by weather problems and script revisions, with Kinski reportedly feeling lost amid the chaos. Her performance, while not specifically singled out for criticism, was overwhelmed by the film's larger problems. Another significant career stumble came with Exposed, 1983, a thriller co-starring Harvey Keitel that promised to showcase Kinski's dramatic range but instead confused critics and audiences alike. Despite a relatively modest $8 million budget, the film underperformed dramatically, earning just $1.5 million domestically. Rumors circulated about tensions on set between Kinski and director James Toback, whose methods were reportedly unpredictable. The film's marketing positioned it as an erotic thriller, further typecasting Kinski in roles that emphasized her beauty over her acting abilities. These commercial disappointments coincided with a growing sense in Hollywood that Kinski might be difficult to cast beyond exotic, mysterious roles. Her German accent, while part of her appeal in films like Paris, Texas, limited the types of American characters she could convincingly portray. Additionally, the roles that had made her famous had created a typecasting problem. Studios saw her primarily as an exotic beauty rather than a versatile actress capable of carrying mainstream projects. Compounding these professional challenges were personal choices that pulled Kinski away from Hollywood's center. She married Egyptian filmmaker Ibrahim Musa in 1984 and gave birth to a son that same year, followed by a daughter in Nastassja in 1986. Though she continued to work during this period, her focus had understandably shifted, and the demanding schedule of motherhood made it difficult to maintain the same career momentum. Hollywood executives, who had once been eager to build projects around her, began to look elsewhere for their leading ladies. The industry's fickle nature became painfully evident. Roles that might have once been offered to Kinski went instead to emerging stars like Michelle Pfeiffer and Jodie Foster, who were building reputations for versatility in American studio films. Meanwhile, Kinski found herself increasingly relegated to European productions, or smaller independent films that struggled to find wide distribution in North America. By the late 1980s, Kinski's status in Hollywood had shifted dramatically. She divorced Musa in 1992 and entered a relationship with Quincy Jones, with whom she had a daughter, Kenya, that same year. Though she never officially took a hiatus from acting, her output became more selective and less visible to mainstream American audiences. European productions like Fare Away, So Close, 1993, another collaboration with Wenders that grossed just $455 in limited North American release, kept her artistically fulfilled but did little to maintain her Hollywood profile. The 1990s saw Kinski working steadily but in projects of diminishing commercial visibility. Terminal Velocity, 1994, an action film starring Charlie Sheen with a $50 million budget, attempted to position her in a mainstream thriller but grossed a disappointing $16.5 million domestically. Critics noted that her character felt underwritten, a common complaint about Kinski's roles during this period. Behind-the-scenes reports suggested that the studio had recut the film to emphasize Sheen's action sequences at the expense of character development. Television began to offer more substantial opportunities. Kinski earned a Golden Globe nomination for the 1997 Showtime movie Red Letters, demonstrating that her talent remained undiminished even as big-screen opportunities waned. Yet these smaller successes failed to translate into a full-scale Hollywood comeback. Instead, Kinski seemed to retreat further from the spotlight, focusing on raising her children while taking selective roles that interested her artistically but rarely demanded the grueling promotional schedules of major releases. The new millennium brought sporadic appearances in films and television, with Kinski's name no longer carrying the same box office draw it once promised. An NBC miniseries adaptation of The Mystery of Natalie Wood, 2004, featured Kinski as Wood's mother, bringing her critical praise but in a supporting role that reflected her changed status in the industry. Independent films like Say Nothing, 2001, and An American Rhapsody, 2001, showcased her dramatic abilities but reached limited audiences. What makes Kinski's trajectory particularly intriguing is that, unlike many actors who fade from prominence, her talent was never in question. Critics consistently praised her performances even in otherwise forgettable productions. The issue seemed to be a combination of typecasting, personal priorities, and an industry that struggled to see beyond her iconic early roles and striking beauty. In recent years, Kinski has appeared primarily in European productions, with her American film work becoming increasingly rare. A brief role in the David Lynch-produced Inland Empire, 2006, reminded cinephiles of her unique screen presence. But the experimental nature of the film meant it grossed just $4 million worldwide despite strong critical reception. More recently, small roles in German television productions have kept her connected to her roots while allowing her the privacy she seems to value. Today, Nastassja Kinski remains an enigmatic figure in cinema history. At 64, she occasionally emerges for film festival appearances or retrospective screenings of her most celebrated work. Her daughter Kenya has followed her into acting, creating a legacy that extends beyond her own performances. Unlike many actors of her generation, Kinski has largely avoided social media and maintains a private life away from Hollywood's constant scrutiny. Kinski's legacy is defined by a handful of extraordinary performances that showcase what might have been possible in a different era or with different choices. Her work in Tess, Paris, Texas, and Cat People represents some of the most memorable character studies of the 1980s, performances of remarkable depth that transcend their genres. Yet her career also stands as a testament to Hollywood's limitations, its struggle to find suitable roles for actresses with distinctive personas, its preference for marketability over artistic risk, and its tendency to discard talent that doesn't fit neatly into established categories. The fragility of stardom is perhaps nowhere more apparent than in Kinski's career trajectory. With over 60 credits to her name across 5 decades, she has maintained a working actress's career while never quite recapturing the promise of those early triumphs. If Kinski were to find a role that harnesses her still considerable presence, while acknowledging the wisdom of her years, audiences might yet witness a remarkable third act from an actress whose best work has always defied easy categorization.